What was going through Moat like for you with us going to Mississippi and all that?
The truth is, I actually it didn't really bother me that much because I knew the group I had. I knew that y'all would do all right. You know, even though I know, you know, just like every other deployment I've been on, they're going to snatch people and put them in different places. I knew y'all had enough knowledge and understanding about what was going on that y'all would make it work. So the stress part of that was all right, you know, didn't bother me that much. I didn't like at the same time where they want to take my people from me and put them in different places, you know, that because that's one of them Army promises again. All right, you guys are going here, and then when you get here, you know,
we were all told we were going to JBB. No one told us once we got there we'd be split into different teams.
And going different directions and things like that. Yeah, and I was like, okay. But at the same time, if you let us know that, we could have planned accordingly too. This is what, and we could have put our support, you know, channel together, you know. And I know you're going up here, we're going up here. We need to keep in touch and. Whatever the case is, and you need some help, you know, and I'm here, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they took us and put us somewhere and nobody knew where anybody went, you know, and that did bother me a little bit because then I'm like, how do I keep track of my guys when I don't know where they're at? You know, it's the NCO's job, you know, accountability. They took the accountability away from me, and I'm just like, this ain't good.
And hoping that
that somebody else's leadership was doing as good a job as I could do, and I had faith because, you know, we were in pretty sketchy areas that they're not just going to give you to just anybody, you know. That there's some thought in who goes where and things like that, you know. I mean, they did that with me. They took me out away from every single person I know because where I went, they needed some leadership. And they put me with a captain that was needing somebody that could help him. So I didn't get to go where I was originally going. They put me somewhere else, and I ended up having a really good time. You know, it was gotten to meet new people and impart some knowledge on some folks, and it got better as time went on. You know, it's just okay, it works.
Well, part of that moving around with the Army, if done right, is kind of nice because it forces you to learn to
adapt.
Work with other people, other cultures, because I knew nothing about the team I was going to, and I went by myself.
Yep.
So it does put you in, like I said, maybe it could be done a little bit better, but it did put you in.
It gets you thinking on your feet. You know. This is, you know, that's where the tread meets the pavement right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to learn everything I've learned everything I can learn. This is putting it into practice right here. You got to learn how to be self-sufficient, understand, you know. Like me, they sent me to a fob I'd never heard of, and then just dropped me off and like, figure out how to get there. I'm like, well, where am I at? You know? And didn't give me no phone numbers, no this, that, or the other. You know, I got lucky. I was sitting in the chow hall and I was like, hey, anybody looking for a sergeant supposed to be showing up next couple of days? I'm right here. I just said it like that. And somebody come over the table, I've been looking for you for 2 days, you know. That's how I found where I was supposed to go, you know what I mean? But I wasn't scared. I was like, you know, actually I was kind of playing the game a little bit. I'm like, well, if you ain't gonna give me the information, I'll do a whole tour eating at the chow hall and walking around at the MWR. I mean, someone's going to catch up with me sooner or later.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, I guess the assumption with you being an E7 was like, he's been here, he's done that, like he knows how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd been nice of them to give me drop a couple of names.
At least tell me the color of the building I'm looking for.
Yep. It's all the same color. But yeah, it'll work out.
What was your job while you were over? I can't even say that I remember.
I was actually, I was the NCOIC in charge of the team that we were on.
Okay.
We had the coasties with us and everything. So, I was just in charge of the what is that system? The 88 November.
Like TC Ames,
and a couple hotels with me, and they were doing TC Ames too. So you know how that whole thing goes. We don't have no hotel work. Guess what? You do TCN.
Yeah, doing November.
Yep, you're in November. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
And
you don't got a truck to drive, even though you're a mite.
That's the thing. I was a mite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a Bravo and a mite. I don't know the systems. I don't know. But I mean, it was all about leadership.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to know the systems. I just needed to know how to deal with the people. That's all. That's what the captain was looking for. Hey, I just need you to give them direction and this, that, and the other. I mean, shoot, that's my team. Come on, did some couple ice breaking things with them. Went and did some team, some camaraderie things out in, in MWR and Chow Hall and things, and for the most part, it worked out. Now, the bad part of it was, there was 2 separate units together, and one of them that was there before I showed up was mad because now I'm in charge and they're not, so that was a little, to me, it wasn't a problem. To him, it was a problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm E7, you're E6. I mean, it's a given. I'm not just going to let you take over and, I'm going to sit over here hanging out being the captain's lackey. That's not going to happen, so he had for about a month, we had a little bit of, stuff rubbing.
A little friction.
And so I finally pulled him aside and said, what's your major malfunction, man? I said, I've been giving you a choice to fix yourself before I had anything to say to you. And it took him back that I was, had something to say to him because he thought he was just going to run over me at first, And we had some choice words and tell him, just put you straight, dude. This is my team. Do what you need to do. I said, I'll give you a team to be in charge of as an E6. That's not a problem. Be like a squad. But I'm like your platoon sergeant, or your first sergeant, depending on the situation we're in. You just don't get everything that you want. I said, now, I'm going to trust that you know your people, and I will, I'm not going to try to make any big moves. I want you to be somewhere, that you're comfortable with to get the job done. I'm not trying to come in here, I think that's what put him at ease. I'm not trying to come in here and mix everything up and make it the way I want to. What's working, you tell me, because you've been here. I'm just getting there. What's working, we'll keep going with what's working. What needs to be changed? We can do this together. I have no problem with that. So he started lightening up a little bit. And after a while, we was good buddies. We were running together and exercising together and things and having conversations like we're having here. There was no problem after that. But sometimes you gotta, I'm the man. And you think you were the man, sometimes you gotta be that way. That's not my personality. And I try to avoid that if I can. But by no means I'm gonna let you run over me. Put the squash on it as quick as I can. So.
Well, I appreciate though you taking that time. I can't tell you how many times I've had a new manager or something come in and immediately want to change everything.
Right.
And it's one of those, like, you have no idea what's going on. Even if you're coming from someone or somewhere that you were very successful with what you were doing,
right.
There's nothing that says that same success will copy paste over here.
Paste, right.
So, like, take a month and just kind of let things go how they are and then start to, make your little adjustments. But you can't just come in and just say, like, yeah, we're just going to sweep and changes everything.
Yeah, that used to happen a lot. So that's why I gave him time. I was like, listen, you can see my personality. I'm just going to let it shine through. I'm not here. That's what I was doing. I was watching. I was sitting in my office talking to the captain. And some of the people were from the captain's unit, so it was easy for me to ask them questions about certain people. And I was making my decisions based on the knowledge I was gaining and what I was seeing. And for the most part, they was already squared away the way they were. I had to make like 2 changes, and they were still sitting next to each other. I just did a job change is all I did, And they were happy because they get on their breaks, they were still jabbing and they were being buddies and they stayed in the same hooch together. And we're good, but I just gave you a different position than you had. Wasn't that hard, right?
No.
And then they come and say, okay, he's fair. He's, didn't have any discipline issues or anything like that. So for me, the hardest part of that whole deployment is when they pulled us all out of country.
I was
put us down.
Literally about to ask, what happened when we came to Kuwait, though?
Oh, God. the whole way. We were up there 7 months. It seemed like 3 weeks to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so busy and things were going so fast and we were doing so much. And we go into Kuwait. I swear that one day was equal to 10 days. I was like, we're looking for things to do.
Yeah.
Every single day, literally. Like you took our whole purpose and you put us down there. Okay, this is your desk. And if an email comes through, you gotta answer it. You know, what?
Yeah.
And, you know, and for me, you know, they took me out of an E8 leadership role, which I was an E7, cool. And they put me down, put me under an E8 who had a different, you know, way of thinking than I did with the same people that I was just in charge of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of, it wasn't, they felt like, ooh, there was a gotcha right there, you know, because, hey, that's my E8 right there. Anyways, he's from my unit. So, you know, of course, they went from what we all did for 7 months, went whatever they were doing beforehand, you know, it's like, just bypass.
Went back, you know, what was comfortable, what was
right.
familiar.
They went back to comfortable, yep. Not what was right, you know, and a lot of times right and comfortable aren't the same thing.
That's very true.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I had a good time, like especially when we went down there, me, you, and all them, you know, doing stuff to each other together.
It was a lot harder to goof off in Kuwait.
Yeah.
Because then we were in
everybody watching you. You're inside the shed.
Same office as the brass. And I was supposed to be the first sergeant's little right-hand man. And so, like, he was always looking for me.
Yeah.
And not that I was trying to avoid him, but like you said, there was nothing for us to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, why am I just going to sit at the office at the desk? I was trying to, you know.
I hid in a Connex sometimes. I pulled one of the laptop computers and I found a way to get a signal. I set me up a little chair in there and I opened the back door. And I just sat there, and people were like, "Where's Stout?" And once they passed by, I'd shut the door. I'd walk to the bathroom, and I'd come out and flush it. And I'm over here.
Stout's doing Stout things.
Yeah, you turned me into a sham shield. You know, all in like 2 days, man. You know, but
well, they tried to fill me full of so much. They blew so much smoke on my butt because. I kind of became the subject matter expert on our team. Mm-hmm. You know, like I knew the systems the best, and you know, like I knew the plans the best, and the other guys did a great job. But like I was often the one who was asked to answer questions, and you know, and so when I got down to Kuwait, they were like, "You did such a good job with that. We're going to put you with the first sergeant." And I thought I was like, "That's good for my career. I can learn from him. You know, I can do." More because I was trying to do my packet for being a sergeant, right. So it's like maybe this will be useful. That dude had me do the per stat every day. Yeah, like it had to be double checked and submitted by 11. And that's basically all I did.
You wanted you to do the stuff he didn't want to.
Yeah,
I know how it goes. That's exactly how it went.
Like literally even driving, because they got me my license and I was supposed to drive, and I just rode passenger the entire time. He drove the whole time.
Yeah, why do you need me? Right.
Yeah, it was just like, why am I?
I'm your
car?
Staff coffee getter. Yeah, that's all you became, right?
No, so.
I mean that was the hardest part of that whole deployment for me and it was for everybody, one of us, because we went from doing something that actually was important and actually doing something to all right. We don't want to take them out of country early, so we're going to find things for them to do. I remember they made us go to the container yard to count containers every single day. Even though it was a container yard that nobody was pulling from.
Yeah. We have one whole pickup mission, I think, in the couple months that we're there.
Yeah.
Like, nothing moved, man.
I know, and I was like, yeah, the same ones you painted yesterday.
Well, you think these lizards are out here picking up and sealing the containers?
Put it on their back walk away.
They're big lizards, but I don't know if they can do that.
But yeah, they was... And I didn't like the acting sergeant major at the time. He was holier than thou, I guess. I'm active duty and you're a reservist. You know, he had that whole attitude, and I was like, do you know what's sitting around you? There's 5 active duty people in this office and 45 reservists here. And we must be doing a really good job because y'all are getting all these awards.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't see it that way. We're active duty. Yeah, so you're a colonel. Okay, I'm not interacting with you. Sergeant Major, first sergeant, the SPO, I think, and one other active duty person. And everybody else was coming from our teams. All 50 of them that was in that building at the same time. That's it. Yeah. You know, no, I think one of them was a warrant officer. You know, we're all on the same team. You know,
which is really disheartening because I was trying my best to like not be the stereotype they thought I was.
Right.
You know, like, oh, you're a reservist, you're not worth it. I was like, no, like, man, I bust my butt. I know this stuff better than anybody here. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, my military bearing might be a little different than yours because I don't do it for
a living.
Yeah, living. But it's like the job that needs to get done. I guarantee you, I can do it better than any of you. And you still they're more concerned about the how wide my mustache was. You know?
Yeah.
I finally shaved it off because it was like every day, Sergeant Major would be like, Reddick, what's up with that mustache? Like, man, I trimmed it this morning, dude. I'll just take it off. Yeah. It's going to be a problem.
I hid out in the bathroom one day and the colonel sat down next to me. And I could hear them out there looking for me. I was like, man, I'm going to take care of business. And I fall asleep. You know how hot it used to get?
Oh, yeah.
It gets so hot that you just basically just pass out. And then I get up and I'm like, I'm going to do my business, finish my business, wipe my butt, and walk out the door, and everybody's standing there like, I guess when I fell asleep, I was just snoring. And the colonel was sitting next to me. And they were all like, yay! Oh man, that was probably the first time my whole career that I got It was legitimate. I wasn't
embarrassed about that one.
I wasn't really embarrassed. I thought it was funny, really. I was like, yeah, I don't even remember passing out. I was out. I remember because I woke up and I was like this. I literally passed out. I don't know how long I sat there or anything. They're like, I'm glad you finally got out because we were all getting ready to leave and go back and sit down. But the colonel, I mean, he was good-natured about it. He's like, yeah, I see. He goes, yeah, I think I've passed out in there a couple times too, you know. So,
especially after the flights and stuff too, yeah. Man.
That heat was, you know, it's got air conditioner. Yeah, air conditioner's 150 degrees. It's not 120.
Oh.
But yeah, that was probably the funniest thing that happened to me on that thing.
I distinctly remember the one thing I got them to let me do was that one movement you guys did. And I remember they let me go sit in the room while we were trying to plan it. Mm-hmm. And that old infantry major, and I don't even remember his name, but that dude, and I don't have any problems talking crap about him because he did infantry for forever, which is fine. And he may have been really great at it, but he came into the unit with an attitude of, I'm the infantry guy, I'm the major, you do whatever I tell you to do.
Right.
It doesn't matter that I haven't done this for 20 years like some of these people have. And I remember you specifically talking to him and trying to like plan this movement out and him basically telling you to shut up without telling you to shut up. And I'm just sitting here like, man, like, okay, I get that you want to be a part of it, but why are you so unwilling to listen to anybody with experience?
Right.
Like, you might have a good idea, but you might also maybe just want to ask the people who have been doing it, just, you know, what their opinion is at least.
Right. I don't even remember what the outcome was that. I remember that I got really mad though. Yeah. That's the thing too, is, you know, sometimes the leadership is knowing when just, you know, I'm all about putting up, you know, I'll take a big one for my guys, but sometimes it's not going to go the way that you want it to. Not at my rank. You know what I mean? But, you know, I used to have good luck with stuff like that, but that guy pushed a button or two. But it's, you know, you don't have liberties to say what you actually mean to say or want to say. So it's really hard. You got to learn how to be political, and, you know, okay. I pulled him over to the side a little bit later, and I'm like, you know, not trying to, you know, keep this going or anything, but there's ways go about this, and I don't think, that was a good one. And I got told to shut up again. But I told him, I said, sir, it's yours to fill in. I said, we've been doing this for the whole year, and we've got our accolades, and we beat time, we got every benchmark that anybody's ever expected, and then you come in here and you're trying to change it, and it's the same mission we've been doing the whole time. I said, what's the purpose of the change? It's because that's the way I want it. It's yours to lose, sir.
Yeah.
It's yours to mess up. And whatever we need to do, we're moving out. So sometimes you gotta just go that route.
I don't remember if anything ever came up from that either, because I wasn't allowed to go actually be a part of it.
Right.
They let me in like that one day, and then I didn't. It's like, man, I didn't even get to go out to the port and try.
Yeah, I know. That's I tend to push all those things out because now I remember that and now I'm mad again.
Well, let's move on from there then.
All right.
We get home and, 3 of us are in the warrior transition unit because we're hurt. And then you get some of the people who make it back home fine. Where did you end up at the end of the deployment? Did you take your 6 months or whatever you got after?
I think I got 72 days or something like that, and I just stayed at home, stayed away from work as long as possible. And I continued on and just kept up with my my routine that I had come up with, my runs, my push-ups, sit-ups, and a couple other cardiovascular things I was doing. And there was a track at the college that I lived by, and I was utilizing that, and then life just clicked back in, and I was back doing the same old thing again.
You went back to the 195th after that.
Yep.
Because I went up to Georgia because I got promoted.
You got promoted. I remember that. I didn't see you again for a good while.
I was there for 2 years, I think, in that unit.
I remember that. That was kind of after that deployment. That's kind of when everybody started promoting out into different units, and 195th became a whole new company or ETO. Not bad. That was onward progression, and nothing wrong with that. And that was kind of that was my whole intention when I first got there, is to make sure y'all got somewhere and moved forward with your career and everything. Every time that happened to me about 3 times in my career. To get a good unit, get them put together. And you go in with the intention of, okay, I need to get these guys to where they need to be. And then when it was time for y'all to go, I'm like, damn. Man, I'm stuck here by myself. You got to start all over again. It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad you're getting that. And then when I left 195th, I got my E8, and it was the opposite. Man, I cried like a baby, dude. I tried not to show it there at the ceremony. I got my promotion, everybody, and I'm like, send my butt to Indiana. I was like, oh man, Fort Harris, Indiana? Where they do where you get your LESs from.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Harris. I think it is, but I could be off on that. Had to do a year up there and became an OCT then, observer controller trainer. Had to learn another MOS all over again and everything else. And I was like, I got fortunate with that. I did a couple of MOBs through that, got that through, got people sent off. And that was so specialized that really, the unit I was in, I was the lowest ranking person as an E8. I was
going to say, because I remember you telling me at one time it was more of like a higher leadership type of unit.
So it was a room full of E8s, some lieutenants, and a colonel, and a sergeant major. And one of us E8s just acted as a first sergeant, and it kind of rotated around, So it was very lonely, actually. And each team was specific. So the team like I was in was all transportation. Mm-hmm. So we were all 88 mics or hotels or Novembers in one section, and then you have MPs and the ones that. So we would deploy with whatever kind of unit that your team fit in. Mm-hmm. And that's who we would go through the MOB station with and everything, get them through. And I actually enjoyed that. I think I only got to do it a year, and I was like, man, I can't keep going to Indiana from Florida every month.
Yeah.
And then I had a few deployments, 30 days, 45 days with them and stuff. I'm like, man, I'm tired. So I asked the commander, I'm like, can I be released back down to, I said, not that I don't like this job, but man, financially, you're killing me. I had to get an airplane ticket.
Say even with them paying for flights.
Yeah, it was reimbursed. Time he reimbursed me though, but I've already used the money that I'm gonna pay bills with.
Yeah.
By the time the reimbursement gets to me, it's a little rough, and he's like, I got you, man. Florida, you've done a really good job for me. He signed me back in, and I come up to 195th. They let me right back in, and right back to it.
Yeah.
So that's where I ended up, and I left 195th.
At least that leader was cool about that.
Yeah.
I've already heard a bunch of stories of people trying to do that, and those leaders not being so cool about stuff like that.
Right. And whew. Yeah.
So at that time, my memory's failing me when we became the 195th ETO, because I came back and we were about to start the transition.
Right.
Like everybody was just starting to get told what was happening, like, hey, the change is going to happen soon, because we drove out of Orlando.
Right.
I think I drove out of there like two or three times.
We were going into Tampa, and then the other part was staying in Orlando.
Yeah, we started prepping to move our stuff down to Tampa.
And that was, at that time, I had also become a GS employee. I was a unit administrator at the time. So I had two jobs that I was transitioning.
Yeah, you were a full-timer then.
Yep. So I had that. So I moved 195th to Tampa in an office the whole unit was in an office about one of those offices back there. Literally, I'm not even.
No, I remember.
Just a little spot, man. I'm like, I got 30 people. Where am I going to put these people,
I remember trying to fight for space in the computer labs.
Yeah, and the computer labs and stuff like that. So the reason we had a transition like that, though, is because of the building sinking. So they actually had to get rid of it and move it to different places. And then it just stayed. It wasn't bad, though. It was a change of scenery. I hate Tampa traffic, though. That's rough. But I think I come back across you again. You were telling me you was going into the unit upstairs, what was it, the intelligence unit?
Yeah, because I was in the ETO for not real long, a few months.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I wanted to reclass. Well, I went IRR first.
Right.
And then I was like, because I remember at that time, the responsible drawdown of forces.
Right.
RDOF, that they go, or the responsible dumping on the forces. And I was like, I'm going to take a couple years off. Yeah. So I went IRR. And then when I was coming back, and I went to the recruit, I had to go all the way to Jacksonville.
Really?
I couldn't go to like any local recruitment or anything. I had to go to their main hub or whatever for the state of Florida and to talk to them up there and then they got me on the path to reclassing. Mm-hmm. And so, I was in that same building for a little while because it was weird. We worked like remotely because we had a small presence in that building upstairs.
Right.
But our job was on MacDill in the Air Force Base.
I remember that.
So I spent a lot of my time at the building because I couldn't get into MacDill yet. Well, I couldn't get into the secure building in MacDill yet until my in-processing was all
so
finished.
You didn't have your skiff information and all that clearance.
Yeah.
So, I got you.
Yeah, because I remember I would come hang out with you guys down there when I could.
Yeah, I was all right with that. That's not a problem. Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. E8 was probably the loneliest rink I ever had, though. I thought it was going to be cool. I'd be able to have more of an impact, but as an E8 man, you got to learn. That was one of the hardest things for me is to delegate down.
Yeah.
Being in those positions I was beforehand, and say, okay, I can't do this no more. I'm just an admin guy now.
Yeah.
I got to do certain reports, make sure certain things are done, and these guys are handling it. Just say, okay, E7, you got it. Blah, 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 and just come to me. I had 2 people I talked to, 3 people, 3 E7s. That's it. I wasn't getting in their business or anything else. I was like, man, I don't have no one to talk to. All I got says captain. You know how that goes.
Well, you hope that you have a good relationship with your partner.
I have some really good ones. I ain't gonna lie. And then my staff that my personnel staff and stuff like that, they were good. And he said Martinez, he was probably the greatest NCO I worked with as far as full-time guy. Kept that unit running straight. Garcia, you remember him? I know you do. I gave him, I retired and I said, here's the mantle.
Well, he was the first sergeant, right? Or no, I'm thinking.
He was an E7. I gave it to him, and I had gotten him all set up to make E8 at that unit.
Okay.
Something fell through with that. I don't know what, but he was still in that role for a couple of years, and then I finally seen on, I don't know if it was Facebook or something, and he had a picture of First Sergeant ranked on his knee and said, I'm on my way, finally made it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I was like, that made me feel good.
I remember Garcia. I was confusing the name with someone else.
Right.
But yeah, no, I remember him now. Yeah. So, but that's good. I'm glad
he was a good guy, and had Burton, and starting first class Burton. He retired, I think. But I think Garcia is still first sergeant at whatever unit he went to. So I'm glad to see that. That was a good thing, because I still feel, because I pushed him into that spot, and he took it and ran with it, man. And I was more than happy, because I knew the unit was going to be all right with him. I knew that in my heart and everything. And I think that was the best decision I could have made for me leaving out, not leaving it up to, say, the captain or whoever else was in charge to figure out who they wanted there.
Yeah.
So he gave me the opportunity to say, who do you want to replace you? And I was like, okay, this is easy then. Here you go, man. So,
well, that's cool that they let you do that.
And I was able to step back for the last couple of months and let him take over.
Like a little bit. Okay. Just a little close. Just making sure it's picking you up. Sorry.
Picking up. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I told you, man. I wiggle around a lot when I talk.
No, you're good. Just wiggle within like 10 inches.
10 inches. But yeah, that was the end of my career right there. It was the hardest thing I ever done too. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, I had promised myself a minimum 30 years.
Yeah.
And to be honest, a couple of things that happened to that unit just knocked me down so bad. I went 26 years, and then they put an EO complaint on me.
Really?
Over something I didn't do. And I got cleared off of it, and everything worked out in it. But it also dealt with the culture that it is now with these new folks coming into the military with the mindset they have, not very strong, weak-minded. I'm not trying to put no one down. I just don't think they had the same opportunities through life that maybe my generation, maybe your generation coming up, having a little bit of common sense, things like that. The whole woke thing. And then that happened. And then I had a female come in to me, slam my door. Look, first, I didn't even know who she was. Threw her hand down on my desk and I need to tell you something. You need to listen to me right now. I'm gay. You need to know that. And I go by blah, blah. I lost my crap after that. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what was said. There was a lot of hollering involved, a lot of get out of my face. Who's your first line leader? Blah, 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 someone's gonna pay for that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, those two situations, I'm like, it's time to find a jump off point. And up to those 2 points, my outlook had not changed. I was like, man, I'm just cruising along. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I love my job. Blah blah blah. After those two, I'm just like, this is what I got to look forward to for the next 4 years. I'm afraid to myself. I'm afraid that something's going to happen, and I'm going to lose 26 years of a perfect military record over some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And then this guy right here, my son went to this school, to this JROTC program. And we were in the field at the time, and he called me up. He said, Dad, I came over here and I visited Captain Simpson, and we were just talking. He's like, yeah, I'm looking for a JROTC guy, retired guy, that come in here and help me. I was just like, he goes, Dad, does that sound good? I was like, well, explain a little bit more to me. What's the benefits of this? And Captain Simpson got on, and he's like, yeah, you get your active duty pay. Boing,
At the rank that you retired at, active duty pay?
Yep. Minus retirement.
Okay.
Which is all right. It's still good.
Yeah, for sure.
26-year EA. I'm doing all right. But school hours, school holidays, whole 30 days off every year. I'm like, found my jump off point. I was crying too. I was sitting over in a corner in the woods. Like, okay, I'm making this decision. I'm firing myself. Now you got to remember, I just said I was a GS employee. I was a UA, which is dual hatted. I had to keep my uniform to keep my civilian job.
Yeah.
So once I retired from that, I had to quit the GS job. I was like, man, there's so many implications here. And I was willing to do this for a maybe, because there was no guarantee. So they couldn't process my paperwork until I was fully retired.
Gotcha.
I got it up to a certain point, said we can't go any further. So now I'm giving up my career, and I don't even know if this is going to happen. So the school graciously put me on a salary as a what do you call it? I wouldn't say a para, but I don't know, I guess a substitute teacher would be the best way. Get me paid and get me through, that transition. And they did my pay pretty good for that, so I was able to maintain. Mm-hmm. And it still took me from October to January before I got, okay, you got this job. I was like, talking about, holy crap, man. I gave up 2 careers at one time.
Yeah.
For a maybe, but that's how bad it got for me.
For like a pseudo internship kind of idea.
Yeah. And I haven't looked back since. I don't miss the military anymore. I ain't lying. I miss aspects of it. I miss this. I miss seeing my old friends and things like that. But what it started turning into, and talking to some of my buddies that are still in, what it has turned into wasn't a good fit for me anymore.
Well, it's definitely an interesting conversation to have, because, like you say, you want to be adaptable, but it's also not okay if everybody is approaching you antagonistically.
Well, who goes in the first sergeant's office and starts screaming and hollering at him, and you ain't even met him yet? Yeah. And then it was okay.
Definitely not the way to approach the situation.
Right. And there was other little things that started happening along that like, this has changed in a way I'm not really happy with. Now, to be fair, those 2 situations, there was probably another 6 to 7, 8 months before I decided this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. But things, I was like, maybe this is just a hiccup, but things kept going. Little things here, little things there, and they became a little bit bigger and bigger. And I'm not saying that it always affected me in any way. It was just what was going on, how the rules were changing and how we were allowed to talk to people, blah, blah, blah. All this, make it easier, make it easier, make it easier, make it more woke, make it more woke. Like, no, I don't believe that. So the environment met the adaptation that I was able to do, and I hit the wall eventually, and I was like, I got to find a jump off point.
Well, when your idea of being progressive and tolerant starts to shift into being unreasonable,
right?
Like, I think there's a big problem, because I remember when we were in and we would do EO training and SHARP, sexual harassment and things like that. They would make you feel like you weren't allowed to be interested in the opposite sex.
Yeah, right.
Like, because it's like, even if you're off on your own time, not doing something with the army.
You're always like 24/7.
You go to the club and you're trying to talk to somebody. I was young and I wasn't married, and so I was interested in women. But they made it feel like even just the idea of me talking to another woman, and someone else misinterpreting that, could get me put in jail.
Right.
And it's like, that seems a little extreme Like, I totally get if I'm doing terrible shit,
right,
then call me on it and punish me for sure. But it's like, I'm not even allowed to talk to people?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where that comes in. I don't think it meant that, but it sure come across like that a lot of times. I know exactly what you're talking about, especially it depends on who was giving the class and how forceful. You know, and I'm not saying anything about different sexes, but if a female was giving you a sharp class, it was a lot different than a male giving you a sharp class, you know, and the thought process is supposed to be the same all the way across the board, but, you know, personal experiences and feelings and thoughts, you know, go into that, and you get I know what you're talking about. Let's put it that way. Because I've been in a couple. I'm like, I'm not even looking for somebody. I'm scared.
Yeah,
I'm worried. You know, I'm like, am I allowed to talk to my wife like this?
Can I make a joke ever?
Yeah, but no, I got you. But that's, to put it bluntly, I was just tired of the bullshit, you know, coming down. And it was, me becoming a UA was a blessing. And it was a curse at the same time, because then I started seeing behind the curtain a lot, and that started accelerating my like unhappiness, because I was like, this is why this happened all my career. And is this easy? I could have fixed if someone just gave me the right information, you know, little things like that. And then you started seeing why certain things were coming down the pike, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But now I'm seeing it, because now I have access, because they're making me have access to all this and that. And then you take you out of the uniform role where you're trying to take care of somebody, and then the UA, you know, then the colonel sends down, hey, you got to get rid of all these people on this list right here, and this is what you're getting rid of them for, blah, blah, blah. And you know, so now you spend all your day screwing people. You know, you couldn't make 1 second on the run, you're out of the Army because you're a shitbag, you know? And I'm like, no, he freaking stumped his toe and he still ran, you know, whatever the case was, you know? I'll give you a perfect example. You remember Alderman?
The name doesn't sound familiar.
Jerry Alderman.
Well, Alderman. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you said. Yeah, I remember Alderman.
I actually had a packet ready for him to be put out of the Army under APFT.
Really?
And then I forgot which unit it was. One of our sister unit, ETO units, was deploying, and I went over and talked to him. I'm like, hey, I don't want to put this guy out. I said, is there a way if I can get him on deployment, y'all will take him? And I pushed a couple papers up to the battalion, and they're like, to a couple of guys that were still on my side, I guess you would say, sent him a set of orders, man. That saved his military career. I don't know if he even knows that today or not, but he ended up, I think he made E5 while he was over there.
Well, good for him.
So I got, you know, I was still trying to manipulate in the positive, but yeah, the curse was that I found myself having to do things that I didn't really, that I tried to help people. So I guess you would look at it this way. In uniform, I'm out at PT. Okay, you need to do better at PT. We need to work on this. We're helping you, blah, blah, blah. You're doing better. And over here, on Monday morning, I'm putting this, knowing that I just said all this stuff to him, okay, I got to put this paperwork together to push him out of the Army. Well, conflict of interest up here, you know what I mean? It was really tough sometimes. That's just one example, but I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I struggled with that for 6 years.
Wow.
6 years I had that job, and I struggled every time. I'm like, no, man. Sometimes I'd just be so disgusted. I'm like, yeah, you're putting out, it's probably some of the better workers that I've seen in this unit for somebody that can run and has no freaking common sense. That should be gone. But they're safe because they passed the PT test, you know. But you can write them up every freaking month, you know. I'm like,
yeah.
Where's the balance, you know? So things were just, for me. Now, it might have been working great for the command and everybody else, you know. I wasn't that high, you know, but for me, it was just a long, slow dive to the bottom, you know. So like, I got to get out while I'm still on top. You know, I still can see the top, really. And, you know, Never thought I would find myself working in a high school, you know. But here I am, you know. And it's weird how kind of fate too works in all this. I got off my last deployment. I'm like, you know what? I got the 9/11 GI Bill. I went to college right out of high school and lasted a semester. I had a semester's worth of college under my belt. And at 42, I found myself doing a full load for my BA. I was like, yeah, okay. I knocked it out in 2.5 years.
Wow. And that was a requirement to, no, you just wanted to finish it.
I had, you know what, to tell you the truth, I got paid $1,500 a month to go to school. And it helped me with my bills.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
So literally, I was like, I got a benefit and and some free money. I want to use it. And like I said, you know, fate, God, blessings, everything. I ended up getting this job because I have a 4-year degree. I went
that was my question. I didn't know if there was any kind of requirement because you're not technically a teacher, right?
I'm an instructor.
You're not technically employed by the school, or
I'm employed by the school.
Your salary is like subsidized by the military.
So the school pays half my salary and the Army pays the other. Gotcha.
Okay.
So basically, the school pays my whole salary and the Army just reimburses half of it every year or something like that. Maybe every month. I don't know how they actually break it down.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting paid by the military. I still get LES and stuff like that.
I just didn't know if it was since you're like kind of a teacher working for the school. I didn't know if there was any kind of requirement.
So like my ID shows like contractor, JROTC contractor on it. So whatever, you know. So
doesn't matter to you. The pay my bills.
Yeah, you got my bills. Good to go. And I'm an 11-month employee, so I don't even work 12 months. You know, I get all Christmases and, you know, I get all the breaks.
You don't necessarily have to have the same lesson plan and during your summer as the other teachers and stuff.
Well, look at the time. It's 5 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. This is probably the longest I've stayed here.
Really?
You know, we have after school programs. And I'm not saying that. I mean, I've been here for, you know, like teacher meet and greets with parents and after school activities, football games and everything else. But I'm not sitting on the phone with a general wanting to go over a spreadsheet and grilling you for hours on end. Like, why is this number not right? You know, I'm here just like, okay, I taught. Here's my extracurricular. We do some teams, have some fun, go to the game, do the color guard. I go home.
Yeah.
I'm not stressed, you know.
Something that general could have called you the next morning when you were back on shift to talk
about. But no, I mean, it happened many times as a UA. I'm at home in bed. Get out of bed, you need to make your way back to the office. You know, my office is all the way to Tampa, and I live in Polk County. Yeah, he needs to talk to you in the next 45 minutes. I said, well, my phone works here too. Now they're having your major decided he wasn't going to show up on time to give the brief. Now you got to give the brief. I was like, what brief? You know?
Yeah.
I did know it. Yeah, I'm the UA. I put it together for him, so at least I knew what I was briefing.
Yeah.
Happened to me 3 times.
Wow.
I'm just like, no, man. I'm going home now. And like the captain's like, hey, tomorrow we got this. I'm like, okay, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Have a good night. You know, I'm not getting out of bed and running all over the place trying to keep somebody from getting in trouble because they conveniently forgot to do the things that they're supposed to do as a major. You know, it's like those kind of things. Like I said, if I was never a UA, I might have actually made it the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But what was happening in uniform and then seeing all this stuff on this and combining both of those, I was done. I was cooked. I was burnout, overweight because I was burnout, you know. Now I get this class, and just solely for having this class, I'll lose 30 pounds in 6 months. Not doing anything.
Being up on your feet and
not doing anything any different.
Yeah.
Eating the same, everything. You know, just the stress isn't there.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Stress. Probably sleeping better.
Sleeping. because literally I had to go from, it was different. I was living I still live where I live. I'm living in Winter Haven. And then when I had to go to 195th in Orlando, it was an easy drive for me, I can get there, not minimal traffic. Going into Tampa, it was 4 or 5 wrecks on the way to work every single morning.
For sure.
Every single morning. Traffic jam. I'd be like calling South Carolina to the battalion, hey, I'm going to be late. You're late every day. I was like, yeah, and I'm only, by time, I'm only 45 minutes away. I left at 4:30 this morning. I'm even calling you at 5:30 to show you.
Yeah.
How do you know you're going to be late? Well, and I point the camera out to the traffic jam. I said, yeah, this ain't moving, dude. Get there the best you can. It's a pissing contest. I was like, I give you the proof on video, and it's still an issue, and I got it. I mean, you can't get to work, Maybe you need to find a house closer. I was like, am I guaranteed to stay here to go invest in time to get a house? No.
Yeah.
I was like, I was guaranteed to stay in Orlando. Now I'm in Tampa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy ask for you to move to Tampa.
I mean, it was, when people don't have the issues to deal with, it's easier for them to say certain things, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all the way in another state. They don't really. I mean, that's when I drove out of Tampa. It was about an hour and a half drive, I think, for me, and I would leave 3 hours beforehand.
Yep. And make sure you made it on time.
Yeah, sometime. Hopefully, you made it on time.
It's like for first formation, I was just sitting out the park for a run. I'd sleep in my car because I'd try to get there. Okay, this one's a good one. I got a 2-hour nap now. But I leave the same time another day. I'm an hour late.
Yeah. And if you weren't like within the city before 6 a.m., it was like night and day. All of a sudden, it'd be like no cars, and then the entire road was full.
Yep.
Within 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yep. Everybody gets off. Yeah. That's weird. But no, I mean, I'm not by no. I don't want anybody to get the impression though that I'm complaining. I love what I did from the beginning all the way to the end. I just literally found the spot that I think, I was not as useful as I wanted to be, and internally I had to deal with, okay, I think this is where I leave, try to leave on a good note like you should anywhere, and, put the right people to take over for you if possible, and move on, and that's kind of what I did. I just moved on, went to my next thing in life, and here I sit.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of a commendable thing, though, to be able to have that self-awareness, because we both know so many people who would have pushed through that last 4 years, and they would have found themselves just, in a unit that the leadership obviously knows they're on the way out.
Right.
But being on the way out for 3 years means that they take up a desk doing nothing for
somebody's promotion, somebody's position. And I just, and I guess, being a UA and understanding that helped me make that decision too, because I'm like, I could see the promotion list as it coming down. And then when people's name on there that I know, I'm like, man, that they could have this spot if I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me. I was like, and they're good. They're good. They would work in a spot like this. It might not be mine, but one of them. And I had the opportunity to see that and try and help them. Once I made that decision, that's when I went to Garcia. I said, hey, dude, I said, you got everything. You got your schoolings out of the way. Here you go, man. There's a spot. I'll put you right in it. It didn't work out quite like I wanted it to for him, but he still got the position. He still got to get the experience. He still got to take care of his people, So, I mean, I hope it was a good decision for him. For me, it was a great decision. And I hope he understands that sometime along the line. I haven't really talked to him since I've been gone. Last time I was there, we gave myself a plaque. Thank you for your 26 years, and gave my last salute, man. And that's the last I've seen Army uniform as far as being in the uniform, other than here.
I was wondering if I was going to show up and you had to be in uniform or anything.
I do sometimes.
Yeah.
So I still wear my OCP, and I have my Class A and Class B that I wear, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
This is one of the only jobs being retired that I can wear my uniform. Mm-hmm. Just like I can wear it for go active duty post with my uniform on and everything. So
So now you're here, doing the ROTC, shaping young minds.
Trying to, yeah. Giving it the best.
And you're enjoying that.
I am. If you're looking for a retirement job, I found that job. I mean, I fell into it by, the grace of God, really. A chance meeting with my son and a phone call, man, and bam, here I am, that quick. 4 months ain't quick, but I mean, I'm talking about for trying to find out what my next step in life was, trying to figure out what I was going to do because I knew I was at the end, and then bam, there it was, something new, something exciting. Something I can impart some wisdom, maybe help people out, or at least just, have something I can do right by people as much as possible. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
And you were saying earlier that it's more than just the military side of things, but you guys teach all kinds of subjects.
We give them, teach them basically common sense, thinking maps, economics. We go over how to write a checkbook and how to do a register and little things like that. Life lessons. Do summer camps with them. Do the same thing out there with them. And
so for all the students out there that complain that schools don't teach taxes, maybe ROTC might help out a little bit.
I mean, they'll at least know how to figure out how to subtract and add to the checkbook. We don't go that in depth. They got economic class.
I just mean in a general sense.
Yeah, in a general sense. They're going to get touched on one way or the other. I tend to approach it because I think back, where was I at in 10th grade sitting in ROTC? The leadership aspect of it, the respect, just learning something that they don't have, giving a view of the world that they've not yet been exposed to, And, we're in a unique position. We've been all over the world. We can give them a little bit of insight on what to expect going down the road at the end of their life, or at the beginning of their life, not the end of it. My life's ending, but not quite yet, but they're just starting out is what I'm getting at. I'm already at the end of my working career, They haven't even started theirs yet. And I want that transition for them coming out of school, going into their careers as smooth as possible, because I'd hate to see somebody, like I told you earlier, I don't want them sitting at their house going, now what?
Yeah.
Because they didn't get the information. Now, in ROTC at least, in any of my classes, they're sitting at home saying, now what? They just didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
I can't help that part, right? Hopefully for the majority of them, they took what I had to give them and they used it some way or somehow, or at least familiar with what they need to do.
Yeah.
And that's the best I can really do. I can't change anybody's life. I can't make them learn anything. But I sure can talk to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can try to give them show them how to use the tools.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what my new mission is, man.
Yeah.
It's like you look up here and you say our mission is, to motivate young people to be better citizens. That's what we do in here. Try to get a better breed of people pushed up. I tell them all the time, it's like, man, y'all need to start thinking, because I'm trying to retire, and I need y'all to think, be forward thinkers, because when I'm sitting there in the post office, doesn't have my retirement check, I'm gonna be really mad at you guys, because y'all gonna be the one running the show. You know what I mean? I need y'all to be better than what you are today. I push that so hard. I try to put levity in it, jokes, and I try to make it fun for them. But I also have a serious lesson with everything I do. If I'm picking on you, there's a reason why, and it comes out. What lesson am I learning? Because Sergeant Stout's over here doing this. Why am I doing push-ups?
Yeah.
Right. You tell me, why are you doing push-ups? Answer the question for yourself, right? I can give you all the answers, or you can start thinking through, what did you do?
Yeah.
And that's kind of, that's my formula. I can give it to you, or I can let you learn it.
Well, I try to do the same thing with my kids whenever they get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull them aside after and be like, "Do you understand why you got in trouble?" Make sure that they just don't think Dad's yelling at them for no reason. Yeah.
Believe me, I know what you mean. I had a son that used to be mad at me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want him to get away. I didn't want him to be like other kids I've seen around. You know, I didn't mind him going out and having fun and this and that, but you know, I was like, I don't want you playing the video game 24/7. I want, you know, I had certain things I wanted you to do your chores. You know, why my friends don't have to do it? You know, when you're a young kid, that sounds like a good excuse, right?
Yeah.
So you got it coming.
I mean, I've already had a couple of moments like, oh, listen, other families do what other families do, and that's fine for them.
Yep.
That is not this family.
Exactly.
We have, not saying they're wrong, they do stuff differently
than we
do. So
exactly. And my son, I don't know, I think it was probably the best moment in my life up to that point. My son, I come home from one of the deployments, and he goes, Dad, just want you to know, I heard everything you said. He goes, I had to live it myself. I'm like, okay, at least he understood. You know? And I was like, that was after I had fallen out with him for a while, you know. So, but he finally acknowledged that, you know, I did the best I could for him. And that's what I hope for these kids too, you know. Believe me, I stay aggravated. I ain't gonna say pissed off. I stay aggravated a lot, you know. But at the same time, I understand my audience. So the aggravation doesn't really stay. I'm just like, oh, how do I flip this and put it, you know, I'm constantly flipping their issue and trying to turn it into a lesson, you know. So sometimes I get stuck though. I'm just like, come back and see me after class, you know.
we all have our
we'll talk about
limitations.
Yeah. I'm pretty quick on my feet, but there's sometimes I'm like, yo, you got me on that. You know.
My daughter's 5 years old and does that to me. And I'll tell her, I'm like, listen, Daddy needs to think about that for a little bit. Give me some time. I'll get back to you.
I understand, man. But did you ask the question you said you was going to hold back earlier today? You had a question for me?
Now
you wanted to know something?
Now I'm spacing on it.
That's good. Now, see, now I turned the interview around.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My question was going to be, I'm very curious as to what being an ROTC instructor in 2024 is like with the TikTok generation.
Oh.
And so you know, like we talked about military and changes that were happening there, and it's a complicated situation,
right?
You know, and for anyone navigating it, no matter what side you're on, and we all need to try our best to, you know, work together to hopefully understand and move forward in a positive, progressive way. And so I was really, really curious today. Not that I'm trying to make the suggestion that the generation is any worse or better, but it's different.
It is different.
You know, so everybody's online. Everybody has phones.
Right.
The attention spans, I mean, the studies are showing that stuff like TikTok is affecting kids' attention spans.
It is.
You have a lot of schools that are talking about outright banning phones and certain technologies and stuff. And so I was real curious, like what kind of complications come with that, trying to be a teacher these days.
So your first hint, if you look behind you, I know you ain't gonna see it on camera. You see that thing with all the numbers on it? Mm-hmm. Cell phone.
Okay. Everybody puts their phones in there before class starts.
See, that's a thing in itself. Well, I don't have my phone with me today, and I'll walk around the class, make me a check, and down here, you know, like, get it back up there. So, as a teacher, you know, I'm gonna go to the teacher mode now. It's really difficult to compete with the addiction. All right. These kids will lose their mind if they misplace their phone for a minute. 1 minute. I mean, I'm talking about crying, flipping out, stressed. Like, I gotta take you to the doctor kind of. I'm just like, man, your phone's right there. Calm down. You know what I mean? It's hard, very hard to compete with what keeps their attention span, whether it's TikTok or social media of any other kind. Just the idea of just having it with them, and you know. That and it's kind of grown too, because now it's that Bluetooth earphones to go along with it, the watches, all the technology. I mean, communication's great, but when you're addicted to it, and you know, addiction is something you can't put down when you want to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they'll tell me, "Man, I just can't be without it." I mean, that's an addiction. I said, that's pretty much the definition, guy. Yeah, you might want to look internally into what you need to do, and that conversation happens a lot.
Yeah.
I'm up here. I'm like, first thing, get in class. Put your phones away. Put it in your bag, dude. I won't make it through class before they're already digging in there, trying to sneak it, and I'm like, it's bad. Stop. Put it up.
Yeah.
You know, I have to stop what I'm doing a lot, just to like, dude, how did you? I was looking at you. How did you get it out of your bag? You know,
That's impressive.
Sometimes it is funny, and I'm like, I am impressed. Sometimes I'm like, man. So it was funny because I was outside with one of them the other day, and I look in his pocket, and I could see the bulge of the phone in his pocket. And then he turns around, and I see one in his butt pocket. I'm like, you got two phones? He said, yeah, man, I got the throwaway phone that you and the teachers want me to put it up in the caddy, and I got the phone that I'm using in class. I'm like, now that's bad, dude. You know, I was blown away by that one. I was like, he got me on that one too, you know? Like,
well, and that's one of those situations where you talk about teachable moments is with someone that has, because that's problem solving, you know? So how do you spin that in a way they can understand and relate? Like, listen, that was good.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But how can we
turn that into a positive?
Yeah, a positive thing to help you with life instead of trying to get away with having the phone.
Right, and that's same thing. You talk about that, and then another big factor that we put up, especially in this school, is vaping.
Yeah.
Vaping's so bad, man. It's like they know that we have vaping detectors in the bathrooms, in the hallways, and everything. They don't care.
Yeah.
Same people over and over. You know you're getting ready to get caught. Because with that, and you know, there's a camera sitting right outside the door. As soon as that thing goes off, the camera's running.
Yeah.
You walk out the door, they got you. I know. I was like, but why would you take that chance and get in trouble?
Especially when you know. Like,
You
I'm
know,
sure you've been told.
I know they know. I mean, it was like us and cigarettes in my generation and other things. But, even me being stupid when I was a kid, I don't remember taking those chances. You know, I was taking chances outside of school and orange roads, you know, away from people. They have no fear here, man. They're just like, I walk in, I don't even go to the locker room and try to use the restroom until they're gone, because every single time I go in there, I'm like, hey, give me that. And I got to go up to the coach. Coach, here you go. Take care of this.
Yeah.
I'm tired of giving the coach work. You know what I mean? He's tired of me. You know, he's like, man, leave my people alone, dude. And he don't say that because he's like, yeah, come on, let me take care of this. But I feel that it happens so often when I just go in there to use the restroom that I'm just going to wait for them to get out of there. So I'm just not giving somebody else extra work all the time. You know.
Yeah. Well, and it's definitely another complex situation. Like, what do we have to do as a
society?
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I've noticed more being in school as a teacher, instructor, things like tattoos, you know, at the age that you're getting them.
Yeah.
Means that the parents just, you know, don't care. You know, like, I know you got to be a certain age legally to get a tattoo, even with consent. And there's people I know that aren't that age, and they got sleeves and big, you know. I'm like,
yeah,
you know. So the culture of parenting is a lot different than when I was coming up. Yeah, I mean, we did that. We just talked about getting a tattoo. My grandma was hitting me with a belt for just having fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought it was cool when I was a kid too. Don't get me wrong. I was like, it was easy. I sure didn't talk about it around my grandparents or my mom and dad. Till I was out on my own, old enough to make my own living, then you can do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? They're still in 9th, 10th, 11th grade here, and you know, got that going on. And I'm just like, holy mackerel, man.
Yeah.
How does it? Thought processes too, you know, and that equates the way people deal with people, you know, parents dealing with children situations. Do they care or do they not really understand because of the way the culture changed as they were growing up? You know?
Yeah.
I see a lot of that, and it makes me wonder, you know, where is it going to get worse or is it going to get better? Is there a spot where things get so bad that it changes? Everybody just like, okay, we've got to change for the better, or is it just keep going downhill? I haven't figured out that formula yet, you know, and then sometimes it aggravates me because I see things and I'm just like, you know, I could be that old Keiron Chad guy, like, you can't do it, you know, or do I try, like you said, try to take those negatives and turn them into positive lessons, you know, and go with that. And that's kind of the route I take. You know, that's a cool tattoo.
Yeah.
How much money did it cost? How long did you have to work before you could pay for that? You know, so I turned it into an economic class, you know what I mean? And trying to make it at least have some benefit, you know, for them. You know, it's not always a situation where you can do that, but I try so hard.
Well, it's an interesting time because I think a lot of it that I noticed specifically is I don't want to say lessening of consequences because, like, I mean, I don't have anything against tattoos. I have tattoos. But it is interesting to see if there's lots of 13, 14, 15-year-olds with a lot of tattoos. And like you say, where do you get the money? How do you get the whatever? But to realize, like, consequences to people's actions.
Right.
And so not that I think that you shouldn't be able to get a job if you have tattoos. But I also think people should understand, like, it could affect whether it's right or wrong.
The kind of job that you get.
Yeah.
You know, McDonald's probably isn't gonna stop you, but if you wanted to get a higher end paying job and you got weird things on your face and piercings and everything, and you have to deal with the public, me as a person that's running that company don't want you to scare away my clientele. You know what I mean? Whether it's right or wrong, you might be the best person for the job otherwise. But, you know, perception is what people see.
Well, you look at, like you say, running companies, look at, like, CEOs, it's like 90% bald white guys.
Yeah.
You know, and it's right or wrong.
Right.
There is that it's not that you can't do it,
right?
But it may
hinder you,
have complications along the way.
Yeah.
You know, and you can start your own business. You got all the tattoos. You want to do that? Employ people with tattoos. Yeah, sure, you can do all that, and you can be very successful and do it. But it's different, you know. And so it's understanding, and like with the cell phones, we give the cell phones to kids young. Like, I let my daughter play with a tablet, but they only get it for, like, you know, an hour a day, and it's not even every day.
Right.
You know, and so I have boundaries and I make them understand. Like, yes, I don't want to say you can't play with it because I use stuff like that.
Right.
But I want you to understand that you should have limits.
You can always have fun. It doesn't have to be your obsession.
Yeah,
because you can't let it take over your day. You can't let it take over your mind, really. You know?
If you're 14 and you're having a breakdown because you can't give up your phone for an hour, like that's just not. Yeah, it's not good.
And my granddaughter, when she was growing up, she cried a lot. I was like, "Here, take my phone." Oh, you know, like Miss Rachel, she loved it.
Yeah,
there you go. Now it's like, can I use the phone? You know, now I'm like, I've turned her into a monster. She's 4 years old, wanting to watch videos. You know, so I feel where it comes from. I'm not dumb to it, but I do limit it. My wife limited it. Her parents limited it. You know, it's there though.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely there. And what amazes me on it, she's 4 years old, knows how to work my own phone better than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I didn't know you could do that. You know, and she's like, oh, look, Papa.
When they have nothing but time and no inhibitions, I'm just going to go through it and discover, you know? And
it's amazing. I mean, and the competing with it is hard, but at the same time, I see some of the genius point, you know, come out sometimes too. I'm just like, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, one of those, like,
cool, you know?
You want them to understand it because it's a big part of our world. And that's just the reality of the direction we're going with the technology all around us.
Right.
So wanting them to understand it, but not so much so that it's a hindrance. Like my son gets it for like maybe 30 minutes a day when I'm picking up my daughter for school.
Right.
But that's the only time.
In the back seat while we're waiting.
Yeah. Well, if I don't, he will scream the entire time. Yeah. So it's like like you're saying, you know, guilty of. But I make it that limit. He gets it during that time, and we don't do it at all the rest of the day.
Right.
But you know, we try to keep them outside a lot and experiencing other things, so they get a little bit of.
Seeing that, and I totally believe that. I harp on these kids, man. Like, y'all need to get outside, learn what it's like to play sports with each other, go play some yard ball, and I'm like, what's that? You know?
No.
I'm like, wow. What do you mean, what's that? No, I'm not that old yet. But inhibition, I mean, not inhibition, the ambition to go outside and be social, see very little of it. And it kind of scares me, for us going forward as a community and as a culture and everything. I'm just like,
well, they say that the technology brings us all together because it's easier to communicate than ever. But it seems like well, it seems like it pushes us all into these little groups.
Yeah.
So we get our own little group and we don't expand out. So like my daughter does dance.
Right.
And she really enjoys it. We tried T-ball and a couple other things. And we told her, like, it's not that we expect you to be, a world-class dancer or a softball scholarship,
a star.
But we want you to do something, try new things, expand your horizons, find not just like what you like and do only that thing. 'Cause you might like a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. Maybe give it a chance, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of how I went with my kids. Please, my son was, he's a wrestler. He was a football player. He was, my daughter, she's a different breed. But I still pushed her outside, parks, let's go play this, So it's not all about sitting at home doing nothing and being antisocial all the time. And I see that a lot. And I get fired for keep talking about that. But
well, I don't want you to say anything that's going to get you.
No, I'm not saying anything bad. It's just an observation. And I see those observations and I actually try to do something about it. So I try to, like you said, try to turn a negative into a positive as much as I can. Explain, teach is what I'm supposed to be doing. And hey, if you can't continuously do this, you're going to be left behind. One thing it does mess me up. As much as you're on your phone, you never see one news story your whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what's happening today? What current events happening? It's something so important, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're on your phone every time I see you.
Yeah.
I know the stories pop up on the phone. Did you read one?
That's something I have a really hard time with because, like, obviously, not everyone can know everything.
Right.
But when you have people that have such a level of ignorance on certain subjects, and it's like, I'm glad you're asking questions, but you have all the world's knowledge in your pocket.
Yeah.
And like you didn't even take 5 seconds just to look up something you're trying to do.
Right.
It amazes me at times.
I do this thing where they're always like, how do you spell that? And I'll pull out my phone on my pocket and I hit the speaker for Google. Hey Google, how do you spell this? and it gives the definition and everything. I said, look how easy that was.
Yeah.
I said, I know I don't want you to use your phone and everything, but stop breaking it down and always asking somebody. Find the information out for yourself. Do the research. If you have a problem spelling, like you got one of the world's most powerful computers in your hand. It does so many things. So that bookcase over there, it just
that whole thing is right here.
Yeah, and every book in this classroom in this school is in.
Maybe not look up how to spell it, but maybe find an app to help you learn to spell better.
Exactly.
That way you don't have to rely on it every time.
You look up here, I was showing them how to do AARs. I was like, Sergeant Stout, you can spell really good. I said, yeah, I just sound it out as I'm writing it.
Yeah.
I said, take the Polk County accent out and listen to the word in your mind the correct way, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just little things.
You might at least get pretty close.
Yeah. And then I'll do stuff like how, I'll get a word and I'm like, ooh, is that an E or an E left off here? And then I got their attention. Now they're like, I think, so now they're starting to think.
Yeah.
So I do things like that. I mean, I was doing it all day today with this, my ugly handwriting. Are you sure that's spelled right? Well, I don't know. Let's check. Every opportunity is an opportunity to help and teach. Ask a question, well, let's make it something, let's turn it into a game. That's what I'm thinking in my mind,
Yeah.
But yeah, that question's a really good one, and I struggle with it because I literally, it's almost impossible to compete with TikTok, with the telephone, with the headphones. You know, I mean, there's so many distractions. And then you take it away from them, and what are they doing? Wait for the next time they can get to it. You know, so they're not
paying attention.
So they're not really paying attention. They're spaced out sometimes, and it's hard. Even when you don't let them have it, it's still hard because now you know their attention is on when can I get it back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so hard for these guys. I feel for them too. You know, because I mean, they don't even realize it because they've grown up with it their whole life. You know what I mean?
Don't know anything different.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yeah.
You know, and you got some old fat white guy standing up in the class saying, it's bad for you. You know, like, it's like, to them, it's just normal everyday stuff.
I had to force myself, just because, like social media and stuff in general, it could be a very powerful tool, but it could also do a lot of bad stuff too. Mm-hmm. And so like one day I was going through my phone settings and I was looking at my power usage and it said like, average of 4 hours a day on Reddit or something. I'm like, this is a problem. Like, I can't keep doing this. And luckily, I'm able to see that, recognize it, and I deleted those apps and I don't do any of it. And I spend a lot less of my time on there, and I've been able to shift my focus. Right. But I know that's very difficult.
Yeah, some people can cold turkey things, and some people just can't do it. You know, that is an issue. But see, me as a teacher, though, I can't heal everybody. You know?
Yeah.
It takes parenting, which I'm not their parent. Taking other people, pointing things out. But when you're scared to talk to each other a lot of times, it's hard to point things out too. You know what I mean? Because I try to get, like I push this as a team. You know, this is not an I thing. This is an us thing. So when your squad member gets in trouble, the whole squad's in trouble. I don't care, man. Those tactics don't work like they did on us.
Yeah.
So I gotta continuously revamp that and try to make it work. You know, like why are you gonna let and call each other out? I mean, quick. They don't have no inhibitions to get somebody in trouble. I don't understand where that comes from. My day is like you just kept your business to yourself. You don't tell on other people. If you ain't part of this, just shut up, leave it alone. You know, it could be bad. But in my day, I mean, you wouldn't catch me go snitching on somebody because that usually had a bad thing at the end of the day come along with it. You know?
Yeah. Well, you want to try to teach. Well, like when I was in my last job, I would tell people, I'm like, that snitches get stitches thing is bullcrap. Like, right. Don't think of it as you're trying to get other people in trouble. Think of it as, like you say, we're here to work together as a team. Mm-hmm. If someone's doing something unsafe, they might not just be endangering themselves.
Right.
They could be potentially endangering other people around them. So it's not that I want to approach of I'm going to go, get after that guy. But I want to re-educate. I want to retrain. I want to help them understand why we do the things the way we do, but I need help. I can't be on every job site. So it's not that you're getting people in trouble. It's I'm trying to help make us all better, like you say. Has there been any discussion at all in trying to utilize any of the technology more?
We use it a lot. I mean, we have Promethean boards.
Mm-hmm. That's like the giant touch
TV
screen.
that you can project on, point on, touch screen, the whole 9 yards.
Does it seem to help at all?
It's a lot. It's right down their alley, I guess you would say, because it's techie, so that does help. Here, you see me, I don't use it. I use straight up writing, and because I want them to understand, I poll these kids every year. Some of them don't even know how to tie their shoes.
Yeah.
Some of them don't. I'll do a thing where I'll write my name in cursive and I'll just ask them, what does this say? I don't know. What is that? Back in my day at school, we went third grade, we learned cursive and we weren't allowed to write anything else all the way through school too, And they say, well, they didn't even teach us that. I'm like, why? To me, my conspiracy theory guy comes out in my mind because, what's the Constitution written in?
In cursive.
And if you can't read it, how do you control the masses?
How do you understand?
You know what I'm saying? Somebody can come up to you and say, this is what this says. And you're like, okay. Now, you don't have any way to fight back, right? Now you're just a slave to the idea of somebody taking advantage of you.
Hopefully trusting that person told you the right thing.
Are you a trustworthy source of what that says? You know, what's a Second Amendment? It's all in cursive. Well, it says we have the right to take your guns away, man. You know, and I use that in class because I want to show them that. And then I got them up there. I'll see them every once in a while. They'll be up there on the board trying to write their name in cursive. You know, like, yeah, it's sticking. You know, but you just got to give the right information with the issue. And like you said, turn it into a learning thing. Find a way to make it positive. But some of my higher up lets that I have now, you know, my level that started this when I started, they're like, yeah, Sergeant Stout's going to have you write in cursive. And they're like, you know, they're all nervous. I never learned cursive. You know, so it's funny. So it's sticking with people. And now they're trying to help their classmates. I'm like, that's what I want to see right there. You know, so we have, I have an easy job really, but it's probably the most difficult one I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know, it's
not so much physically demanding, but
mentally I'm wore out at the end of the day. I'll go home, man. I'm just like, and it's not for being upset or anything else, man. It's just because I'm doing mental things so much every day, just trying to stay ahead of everything. I'm just like, ooh, man, I'm wore out. Just tired. You know?
Yeah.
Not a bad way. I got a few more years left in me on this. Like I said, this is probably the perfect retirement job that anybody could ever find. Because I mean, like if I can get a few of them out, you know, with a head start and good, I've done some good stuff. You know, I'll retire out one day and I'm like, yeah, I remember him. He was a general. Old crotchety guy sitting on the front porch, can't get out of the rocking chair. Hey, Mom, you know. And is that nurse still here? I can't get up. You know, but I remember that guy. Might not remember me. So that's all right. I don't need nobody to remember me. I just need them to be okay. Same way with you, man. I hope you and everybody else that cross paths with me, that y'all have what you need in life and maybe take something away from it. You know, that maybe I contributed, maybe I didn't, but I was part of it in some way. You know, that's cool.
Well, I definitely appreciate you being around. It made a world of difference.
I hope it did. I tried, but like I said, I'm not a miracle worker, but I'm just stubborn, I guess.
You were always reliable, that's for sure. Whenever I needed something or called on you to even like I say, even if you didn't know the answer, like you would make it happen. You would give me the answer. You would find it out.
All you can try, right? You just try. I just can't chop people off it, you know, and say, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be a follow-up somewhere. As long as you use that in your life, man, it'll make a difference to somebody else too, you know.
Well, that's one thing that I hope if anybody listens to these podcasts, that they like we talk about the less physically demanding, but it's still more mentally taxing on you. It's
right.
That being in the Army, in logistics, I'm not going to compare myself to a Ranger, obviously.
Right.
But there's still a lot more that goes into it, and I think not so much for me, but for anyone that I talk to, I think a lot more people. I think it would do a lot of people a lot of good just to have a better understanding of what that entails and how difficult it still is, even if it is not the most physically difficult thing in the world.
Yeah, I had, like you said, unique, and there's a bunch of people in my same position, but I went through them all. I started out the military trying to get into the Florida National Guard in Haines City. Ended up in active duty from there, and ended up in reserve from there, and then retiring, doing a little bit of both, AGR time under my belt, and then being a UA for a unit, so pretty well rounded, but you see all sides of what's going on around you. Unique perspective. I don't know. It's just I wouldn't do it any different. What would I change? Nothing really. I wouldn't, because if I changed anything, it wouldn't be me. Do I regret some of the stuff sometimes? I do. I do. I look back sometimes. I'm just like, I could have handled that a little different. But, you know, what was the expectations of me at the time, too? You know what I mean? So sometimes you need to, like you said, conform a little bit, but I used to fight that so bad. I can't. I got to be this guy right here, you know. But I learned later on in my career, okay, I gotta reevaluate me, you know, for them. And, you know, that's the way I looked at it. When I first got in the military and in the infantry, basically it's all about me. Everybody else is a pogue, right? Yeah, I don't know. You heard that.
No,
before, right?
personnel other than grunt. Yep.
Everybody's a pogue. You know, it's all about me and my unit. You know, and as my career progressed, I'm just like, man, I'm glad I'm a pogue. You know what I mean? I seriously. So I would never at that time see myself saying something like that, but I say that, you know, in just a little bit. But your outlook on and your path changed all the way up through your career and your life, and you start seeing things in a different light. You know, and you take that good stuff that you learn, you bring it with you, leave the negative behind, and you use it to progress forward. You know, and then you get some more good stuff to put in your mental toolbox, and you move forward again, you know. And I was blessed with having different avenues that I could put that into play with, and different young soldiers, and even helping some older soldiers with some stuff. And I've always been glad, as far as my military career, that I'd been able to do that. And it's always good when somebody like you comes back and I'm saying, okay, something stuck, because you wouldn't have thought about me just even ask the question, can I interview you? You know, so that means a lot to me. It really does.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. I think that might be a good place to go out on before I ruin it.
No, you're good, man. I appreciate it. I thank you for even thinking about me and giving me the opportunity to hear my story and let other people hear it. You know. So.
Well, I very much appreciate you sharing it with us.
All right. Thank you.